Hey guys, Ascending God here, and below. Here with Raid Shadow Legends. Going to be doing a Fire Knight's Castle run on stage 20. Gonna do a run now as an example of a counterattack run. I fortunately have decent enough champions and gear that I can run with a speed group, I can run with a counterattack group, I can run with a speed counter hybrid. Now, for those of you who don't know, just to explain what this means, is that with a counterattack group, which I'm going to be showing you here, this means that you have a champion in your group with counterattack. Now, the reason you need that, and it's so important with the Fire Knight, is because you'll see when I get up to him, I'll demonstrate, I'll show you his abilities and what his skills are, what he can do. But the thing is you have a shield that you need to break through. You need to hit that shield 10 times before the shield breaks down, so you can actually start doing damage to him. With that said, when you have a counterattack group, it gives you a head start, because then it means you don't have to have champions with as many hits on them, and I'll cover that in a bit as well. So, since you do need the 10 hits to get through the shield, you ideally want champions to have as many attacks as possible. With that said, when you have a counterattack group, right at the very start, after you've been attacked, all your champions do their counterattacks, and then now they do their main attacks on top of that. So basically, each champion's getting a chance to attack 2 times before the boss attacks again. So it gives you double as many hits. Okay, now, with that said, I'm going to show you my roster here. So the first one I have here is Martyr. And now I have a lot of these champions doing the clan boss as well. One of them is for arena. So I'm going to show you what I have going on here as far as that. Now she is geared for the clan boss with the lifesteal. Lifesteal isn't necessarily bad to run with anyway, though, especially with somebody like her. She's a defense champion, so I can load her up with a bunch of defense, and she still hits really hard, and this actually heals her. So, she is my counterattack champion. Like I said, she's got a counterattack on her A2. It also increases defense. She also has a defense down on her main, which is always good to have in a fight. If you can get defense down, weaken, attack down, those are some of the really useful debuffs for bosses. Reduces their damage, makes them more susceptible to damage, things like that. The third thing she has here, this is great on the trash because it does a decrease attack AoE as well as an AoE provoke for a turn. So it makes everybody attack her. She's loaded up with tons of defense because she's a defense champion. So it's absolutely great. And what I mean by defense is, you can see here, she is a defense champion, and then her attacks scale with defense. And again, for those of you who don't know, just FYI, the defense champions, they're not going to benefit from attack. If all of their attacks show damage based on defense, don't bother putting any attack into them because it does nothing for them. So anyway, so I got Martyr as my counterattack champion. Next in the roster, Nethril. As you can see, I have lifesteal on him. I'm probably going to change his gear eventually just because he doesn't hit that hard even as an attack champion. But it gives him some healing. This is mainly something that I had for other dungeons. Now his main focus is arena. I don't even have him on clan boss anymore. But the thing is that you need to keep in mind when it comes to these dungeons is, even though he's an attack champion, for stage 20, you need to load your champions up with at least a little bit of hit points and defense. You see, like, I do have 859 defense, 12,000 hit points. It's not a whole lot, but I mean, I have some champions where they're just pure attack, where they're as low as like 300-400 defense, just tons of crit rate, tons of damage. So the thing is, though, is that that's at the cost of survivability. And unless you have a ton of things that are like stuns and crowd controls and everything, you just can't do it. And even if you do have that, the thing is that the boss is still going to be hitting you near the end. There's no way to keep the boss from hitting you. So you would need a little bit here to survive, and then a healer ideally to keep you alive, or somebody that can resurrect. So the reason Nethril makes it to my Fire Knight's Castle team is because his A1 has 3 hits, which means combined with a counterattack group, it is great because when he counterattacks, it's 3 hits. So even when this is on auto, he's always going to get at least 3 hits every turn. And then once the shield for the boss is down, it's great because he has his 30% decreased speed debuff that he puts on the boss, which is great because it means more attacks before the boss goes again. Can't stun the boss, but you can decrease their speed. This here is also great because it can decrease the boss's turn meter by 75%. Now, what I'm showing you here, this is an auto run, which is the reason that I do autos is because eventually you're going to get so far into this game that you're not going to want to have to farm each dungeon manually. You're going to want a group that can do it on automatic, where you just set it, walk away from it, and forget about it. Alright, and there is also the missions too, where if you want to get Arbiter from the missions, eventually one of the requirements is that you need to do all of the missions on stage 20 on auto. So you're eventually going to need teams that can do this. So Nethril is great, absolutely great for Five Nights Casual. He's a great overall champion. There's just some fights that I don't use him on because there's some other things that are more useful. But moving along here, next in line is Terra Bolt. Now, Terra Bolt hits like a freight train. I mean, it's not even like a freight. He hits like a freaking meteor. And the crazy thing is that I have him loaded up with a lot of defense, a lot of hit points too, because he is also a champion that I have on the clan boss. So with that said, he brings a lot of different things. He brings a weaken, which is great. If you don't have another champion with weaken, you want to load him up with a good amount of accuracy so that he'll apply the weaken. And then other than that, you want to give him some survivability with defense and hit points, and more than anything else, you want to try to get his crit rate up to at least, the bare minimum you want to get it up to is at least this like 55% really. And because if I'm 1% shy, the reason you want to try to get it up to the 55% here plus the 15, that means you got 70% base. His A2 gives him a 30% increased crit rate. So you don't really need more than that because you're going to always have this up when you're hitting with his Juggernaut, which is his hardest hitting. So, but this is great because it gives him extra speed, extra attack, increased crit rate, and the extra speed is of course great against this boss because again, you have to hit the boss at least 10 times just to get through the shield. So you need a ton of attacks all in one, and when you're running with a counterattack group, the disadvantage is that you don't have a speed group where you're getting extra turns because of speed. You're getting extra turns because of counterattacks. So with that said, him giving himself extra speed just adds on to that. It makes it better. And then his Juggernaut hits 2 times, damage increase according to the number of buffs. So that's why typically you want to use the A2 first, then use the A3. Regretfully on auto you don't have the option, but usually with the way he works, since this has a 3-turn cooldown and this has a 3-turn cooldown for Juggernaut, the majority of the time, even on auto, he's already cast this or he still has those buffs on him when he uses this attack. I don't know if he would ever attack with this without this buff being up, or at least the 3 buffs. I'm not sure how the AI works on him, but I haven't had any issues with him. He rips through the enemies. It's absolutely amazing. So we got the last, certainly not least, Tyrell. Now, I use Tyrell over All-10 because All-10 is great. He has similar abilities to Tyrell, similar to what's called a kit. It's what their abilities are, their skills. But the reason I go with Tyrell is because Tyrell's A1 hits twice, whereas All-10's only hits once. And then this one here decreases attack, which is also great on this boss because if you do apply that decreased attack, it decreases his damage substantially. The biggest threat is in the beginning with the boss. That's where he hits the hardest. So your most important thing is setting up a group that can survive those first couple of hits from the boss. After that, you're golden, you're fine. And I'll show you why in just a bit. Another thing that he does that's really useful is he has this decreased defense, or called defense down. That's really good too because then it makes you hit so much harder on the boss and on the enemies in general. And since it's an AoE attack, it decreases the defense on everybody. Next. This here is great on the boss. Again, decreases the target's turn meter by 50%. If he hits the boss when the boss's guard is down, this will apply. When the shield is up, a lot of those things aren't going to happen to the boss when they have the shield. But anyway, so again, we got the group here. You see the roster. I'm going to head into this fight. I have a few different ways I can do it, but this again is an example with a pure counter group. Now, if you want to see a counter speed hybrid, I do have that as well. I don't plan on doing a video just for pure speed because, now see, the last run I did have a speed counter. Now, you could do a speed group and take out, say, Martyr and put somebody else in place, but It's fairly self-explanatory. It has the same concept as the speed counter hybrid. It's just the speed counter hybrid has the advantage that you're getting counterattacks and you're getting speed. So if you do have a group where you want to run with speed, like say High Katoon or Apothecary with speed boosts, things like that, you know, definitely watch the other video. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put Martyr in the lead because that gives me a 30% increased defense. It helps my survival against the boss as well as against the trash prior to the boss because they hit really hard as well. Want to put Tyrell in here. So now see, the nice thing about a counterattack group is it lets you get away with champions that don't hit as many times, because normally you want champions that hit at least 2 or 3 times on their A1. Now Martyr only hits once on her A1, but she makes up for it by giving counterattack to everybody. And I do have champions that could hit 3 times or more, but on this run, this group just works really well because they're my best geared group. Now, I'm going to have this going on auto, so it's going to go kind of fast here, but you're going to see Tyrell just put the defense down on everybody, made them more susceptible to injury. The first thing Martyr does is her provoke on everybody. And I'm not going to get too into the details of what these champions are doing, because if you have the champions, definitely look at the champion spotlight on them, and you should be fairly familiar with your champions as far as what they can do. Each group is going to be a little different, so what I'm trying to give you is a general idea that if you have a counterattack group, whether it be Martyr or Skull Crusher, or, you know, who else is there? Valkyrie, I believe, is counter. The Sir Nicholas, Santa Claus, basically. You know, champions that give you counterattacks. It's going to be a similar concept to this, where you want champions that have at least a couple of hits on their A1 for the counterattack and for the main hit. Now you can see my group is ripping through these trash, no problem so far. Nethril is a little squishy because I have him built mainly for arena, so he hits really hard for arena. I would get rid of his lifesteal gear if it wasn't for the fact that I use him for Fire Knight's Castle here as well. And that heal that he gets from lifesteal is really, really good, because if he takes a huge amount of damage, that A2 or A3 hits really hard, and that heals him a lot. So now Steel Skull here can heal him as well, but it's nice for him to have his own extra heals in case, because on auto you don't have the control over who Steel Skull heals or when. So, you know, say somebody else gets healed and then Nethril takes a really hard hit. If he gets another hit from somebody, he can get killed. But again, you don't want to make him too squishy. You want to give him at least some defense and some hit points, because even though with these guys you can see I'm getting so many attacks, I have so much crowd control, they're not really getting much of a chance to attack me here. However, the boss is going to. So no matter what, the boss is, I mean, on Fire Knight's Castle, I don't know any way that you could get through that boss without the boss at least getting a couple of hits on you. Alright, so now I'm going to stop the auto really quick here. I want to show you what I was talking... Okay, auto's off. Calm down. Okay, so now you saw this started out at 10. This is the boss's shield. Whoops. Oh, really? Hold on, let me see if I can... Alright, so I can't click on that. That's not what I wanted to do, but alright, well that was an accidental turn. But anyway, this starts at 10. You can see he just hit twice, it's going down to 6. You have to break through this shield before you can do much of any damage to him. You see, it does a tiny bit of damage, but here's his passive. And it starts the battle with Divine Shield, and that's those 10 there that you see, that shield with the number 10 on it. Now, like it says, while active, it reduces the damage by 80%, so he doesn't get hardly any damage while the shield is up. And it prevents him from receiving any debuffs or being affected by other skill effects. So things like turn meter reductions, slows, stun, poisons, none of that is going to get applied to him while the shield is up, which kind of sucks, because like my champions have some really strong debuffs, but until they break down that shield, it's just regular hits. So that's why you want to have champions that have at least 2 or ideally 3 or better 4 hits on their A1s. The more hits they have on their A1, the better. But you don't want to get champions that have 4 hits on their A1 if they aren't that great. Like, I wouldn't want to replace, say, you know, one of my champions like, say, Tyrell that hits twice with, say, a rare like Cold Heart that has a 4-hit A1, because she can't survive this. I have her set up for Spider. So anyway, my point being, and she could be good for this. She can be very good for this. It's just for me, she's way too squishy for this. But anyway, but now you see the shield can't be removed. So there's nothing you can do other than attack him enough times to get through that shield. All right, and then each hit he takes, though, does decrease the shield. All right, and then it gets broken basically after you hit him 10 times. But when he attacks, his shield resets. And that's why I said you need to get in as many attacks as possible every turn of the boss. And so you see here, when he starts a turn with the shield active, he'll attack all enemies one time. And then the attack decreases each enemy's max hit points, so it rips through your max hit points, so it gradually reduces your survivability here. This is why you can't take forever on this. It needs to be a fairly quick fight, because every turn he's reducing your max hit points, which reduces your survivability, gradually eats away at you. All right? And then, now that also you got to keep in mind the value of the heal and the damage dealt increases according to the strength of the shield at the time of the attack. So even by the first attack, you want to get through his whole shield, or at least very, very close to it, because if his shield still has 3 or 4 hits, you're probably going to get killed, because it hits much, much harder for every point that's up on there. So you got to get through it as quick as possible. So that's why, again, you want champions that have quite a few hits per attack. All right, now his other ability here, attacks all enemies, 30% decreased speed debuff for 3 turns. That's frustrating because it slows all of you down. Other ability, attacks all enemies, decreases enemy max hit points by 15% of the damage dealt. This is where he reduces your hit points every time. So ideally, you have to have champions that have quite a few hits, and you need somebody like a counterattack or a speed buffer to get as many attacks as possible. Otherwise, on stage 20, you're going to have a really, really hard time. You really need a group that has extra speed. Now you see, I got through his shield all the way there before he attacked, yet still, look, he hit pretty hard here. All right, and that's without him having had any shield. If he didn't, if he did have the shield up still, Nethril might have died. Other champions might have gotten killed. Now you see, the counterattacks are great here. Because now see, I've eaten through his shield. Now you see it's taking his life down, and he's getting debuffs. This hits really hard. You see Terra Bolt hits so hard. He's great. He's absolutely great. And the weaken is really good too that he applies. He might get a chance to do that as well. No, didn't apply weaken, but... Alright, and let's see, the boss did damage again, but I ate through his entire shield, so he didn't do as much. Alright, so again, with the counter attacks are great because they give me extra hits per turn. Now, you see, I applied the slow from Nethril, and that's why, like, a slow on the boss is great, because then his turn meter moves so much slower, and it gives you more attacks per turn, which is just amazing. So it's really good to have things on champions like, say, Tyrell here as well, like what Tyrell just did. Tyrell has an ability, now I'm going to get back up to him again and show you. He has an ability that does the turn meter reduction. You can actually go back in the video and see what I'm talking about. I don't want to repeat myself anyway. But he has one where it reduces the turn meter by 50%. When he gets through the boss's shield and applies that, it slows him down. So you want champions that have a decent amount of hits, but also have things like turn meter reduction, slows, things like that. You can't stun the boss, you can't freeze the boss, you can't daze the boss. They're immune to things like that. But you can slow their turn meter down and you can reduce their turn meter. So that's the kind of things you want to look for. But you don't want to go with somebody like, say, for example, Big Gun. I have Big Gun. Big Gun's an amazing AoE champion, hits really hard. However, on this fight, he's garbage because every single hit of his is only one hit. So that means only one breakdown of the shield here, it just doesn't do enough. So he has great things like slowing down and breaking down the turn meter of this boss, but it's at too much of a cost of not getting enough hits to break through that shield each turn. Now, another thing you have to keep in mind here too is that the attack, it also, the value of the heal, like each attack that he does, he heals himself too. All right, so that's one of the things that's frustrating about him too, is that he heals himself each turn. So you can see each time he goes, his hit points are going back up some. Now, with that said, another thing that is really good to have in your team if possible. All right, now you see it took me 5 minutes 35 seconds, 8 minutes 27 seconds. A lot longer than usual, but it's because I paused there a few times. All right, now the gear here is great too. That's one of the great things about farming stage 20 is you're guaranteed to get either a 5-star or 6-star piece of equipment, whereas with stage 19, yeah, you're going to get 5 and 6 quite a bit, but you could also end up with a 4-star. This one, you're guaranteed to get at least a 5 or a 6-star, which is great. Now, this is stun. I don't really need the stun. The stat, the nothing on that is that great. Thing I don't like about stun is it's only a 18% chance. It's really low chance. I feel like other stats are just better. Plus 50,000. That's really good. Now, like I was saying, one thing you can do with the Fire Knight's castle boss there is that you can do a heal reduction on him. Now, that's one of the things that you can't do on Spider. That's different with this one, is that if you have champions that can do heal reductions, those are great against them. Now, to show you an example here, I have my Kalia. Kalia is one of many champions that can do this. There's a lot of different champions. If you have one, it might be advantageous to you add them. Okay, so you see Kalia here, pretty easy on the eyes. So, she's pretty cool looking. And then, now she has some really good things here. She attacks 3 times at random. Attacks all enemies. Now this here, 50% chance, and then if you skill her up, it's a 75% chance with these skills. So that would give her a 75% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Now, that is absolutely amazing for the boss. Alright, because if you can get heal reduction on him, that means each turn he doesn't heal himself as much. Now, it's not a huge deal. You don't want to say, oh, I'm going to drop everything just to get a heal reduction, because really, more than anything, you need to make sure you have a lot of hits on the boss, a lot of damage on the boss, yet your champions are surviving. That's the big key here. And that's where Martyr, even though she only has 1 hit on her A1, you saw with the counterattacks in that video, where she was giving everybody else those initial attacks, and then the champions are attacking again that turn, so it busts through the shield real easy, even though a lot of my champions are only, 2 or 3 hits on their A1s. Actually, I only had 1 champion with 2 hits. But anyway, regardless, it gives you more flexibility when you have a counterattack team like that, which is really great. But yeah, Kalia here would be somebody great, because like the HP burn as well. HP burn hits bosses really hard. It's only a 30% chance. Maximum 40%. She's not that amazing. If you have other champions that can do HP burn, that's really good on them. This one here, though, it has a really good chance of applying the HP burn because it's 3 times. This would almost assuredly put it on the boss. But again, one of the things you got to consider here is that she'd only place this heal reduction debuff if she attacks with it when the boss's shield is down. So with that said, if you have champions that have a heal reduction on their A1, even better, because then you have much more of a chance of applying it. Now, I don't know any champions that have a lot of hits on their A1 with a heal reduction. The only champion I can think of as an example is Bone Knight. Now, Bone Knight isn't somebody you'd want to bring into it because he only has, he has 2 hits here, but then this is 1 hit. This is 1 hit. So a lot of times he would only be putting 1 hit on the boss. I don't think he's very good. Especially considering he's in rare, if you can get better champions. Like, he would be an option, like, if you don't have a whole lot of options, and you're having a hard time getting through the boss's hit points, he like, say you're breaking through the shield, but the boss keeps healing himself too much, it's taking you forever to get through him. Then somebody like this might be a good idea, because he's got the weaken here, and then he has, this is on a 2-turn cooldown. So I was thinking it was on his A1, so I apologize. It's not on his A1, but when you max up his skills, it's a 100% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff, which means that if you break through a boss's shield and he attacks with this, it's guaranteed to happen. And with 2 turns on it, it's going to happen not too far into the fight. And once you put it on the boss, it's going to last for 2 turns, and as you can see, like, if you're doing things right, you're slowing the boss down or reducing the turn meter, you're going to have quite a few chances to apply this, and you should be good. But if it's even better if you have one on the A1 here, even better. So, but overall, I mean, he could be okay on the boss if you have other champions that do 3 and 4 hits. But it depends on what you have. I mean, I know not everybody has legendaries, not everybody has a champion that can hit 2, 3, 4 times in a row. But that's like somebody that's great for him. Cold Heart can be great for him for a couple of reasons. Like, Cold Heart can be amazing for him. I just don't have her geared for him. And what's far more important for me with Cold Heart is to be able to take down Spider. Spider is, in my opinion, the hardest boss to take down. If you need help with that, definitely look at my video for that. But anyway, her A1 hits 4 times, and since even though it's random, it's all 4 hits are going to be on the boss, and that is great. 4 hits to rip through the shield. Absolutely amazing, especially with a counterattack group or a speed group. And the great thing about this is it's on her A1, and it has a 35% chance when you skill her up of placing a 100% heal reduction. So she has a really good chance of putting heal reduction on the boss. So now her other hits, it's only one hit, but this fully depletes the turn meter, and this hits really freaking hard on bosses because it's mainly based on the enemy max hit points. So if you don't have her needed on Spider, or if you have enough flexibility on Spider where you can gear her for that boss, for Fire Knight's Castle, and you're struggling with it, she is amazing on Fire Knight's Castle. She's also amazing on Spider as well because of how hard she hits. Now you can see Clan Boss, I don't think she's that great for Clan Boss, but 4.9 for Fire Knight's Castle. I feel like she should be at a 4.9 or even a 5 for Spider Sten. What she does in Spiders is just amazing. But trying to give you guys a few more ideas, because I know you're not going to have the same exact composition as mine, but you know, again, this is for a counter. If you're looking for a speed counter hybrid or you're looking for a speed build, definitely tune into my other speed counter hybrid video that I have. That'll definitely be a lot more helpful to you than this one. But hope this did help you though, guys. Hope you gave you some insight as to the mechanics of the boss, how it works, some of the things you want to look for. So again, you know, and it's not just about the champion's A1, because again, keep in mind, like, she has skills that are just amazing for Fire Knight's Castle, but you know, with her, you got to keep in mind she has 4 hits on her A1, but then only 1 hit on her A2 and A3. Now, say if you have a champion like Tyrell, isn't the greatest for it. The thing that makes him better, like if I was running a pure speed group, I don't know if I'd run with him, because the problem is that this only hits once, this only hits once. But he's great on the trash too. That AoE defense down is amazing. The turn meter reduction he does on the boss is great, and the attack down. So overall, Tyrell is really, really good for that fight. It's just there could definitely be better options than him. It's just I have him geared for it more than anything, and that's a big part of what this comes down to, is who's geared for it. Because like a lot of times you're going to find that your clan boss and your arena and your dungeon champions are one and the same. So you have to find an equilibrium where priority should be clan boss, because that's where you're going to get the best rewards, is optimizing your damage for clan boss. Once you can do enough damage on clan boss where you have some flexibility, then you want to look into the missions. Okay, so at least that's my advice, is prioritize clan boss, and then if you can gear them too for other bosses, great. My problem with Cold Heart here is I have her geared specifically for Spider, because Spider's really hard for me. And as a result, I needed to prioritize what she can do for that boss. So as you can see, I don't really have her get hit too much with it. That's why I didn't even worry about maxing these out. Eventually I want to, because sometimes she does get hit and it gets me killed. But anyway, but again, hope this was useful to you guys. If you have any questions about what went on in that fight, definitely let me know. But otherwise, hopefully it gave you some insight, at least with these champions with a counterattack group. Questions, comments, concerns, feedback, let me know in the comments below. I know I could build better groups. Like, I know really I should have Tomb Lord in there. It's just with Tomb Lord, I don't have him geared with anything that great, because he's not useful anywhere else. Not with my group. Tomb Lord is decent. He's decent. He's not amazing. But anyway, if you want to know why, just look at my champion spotlight on him, and you'll know why there's some issues with him currently. But anyway, that's all that I got for today, guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, like I said, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, that's all that I got for now. So until the next episode, take care.
Hi guys, this is Anthony here, also known on this channel as Ascending God. Wanted to thank you for checking out my channel here, really appreciate it. Be sure to check out the other videos. I got plenty of goodies on here. Also check out the description sections in the videos. Got plenty of links on there for all different kinds of goodies that I think would be worthwhile for you guys. If there is something in particular that you don't see on my channel that you want to see, be sure to let me know in the comment section as well. And I think that's about it. All I've got. I'm just going to get back to this thing here. I'm pretty sure if I just...
Oh, we have such sights to show you.
Wow. That's really funny. Same here.